Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. October 3rd, 2017.
The Kuhner Report, presented by Kelly Financial Services.
What was his motive? What motive drove? What was the motivation that drove the Las Vegas, the shooter, the madman himself, to commit an act of such heinous atrocities? That is now the question that nobody seems either willing or able to answer. What drove Stephen Paddock? What made him do what he did? And so the official narrative, my friend, is now this. Here is what the mainstream media, and so far it seems at least the law enforcement community, this is the narrative now that they're peddling. That he just snapped. Why did he snap? He snapped because now the theory is that he had gambling debts. So after he was a high roller, he was a big-time gambler, and so maybe all of these debts that he apparently had accumulated just caused him to go off the deep end and hence get an arsenal and mow down 59 people dead, 527 injured at a country music concert, at a country music festival. I don't believe it. I'm going to be very candid with you. I don't believe it. Either the media is lying to us or law enforcement has no clue and they're putting up this smokescreen. Whatever the reason is for why they're giving us this phony baloney narrative, I do not believe it. And I'll tell you why. Here is now what we do know about the Las Vegas killer, Stephen Paddock. 64 years of age. He was a multi-millionaire. He owned multiple homes in California, in Texas, in Florida. In fact, he owned several homes in Las Vegas. He was an accountant. He worked at Lockheed Martin, the defense contractor, for years. He was apparently a successful real estate investor and a businessman who then apparently did well, sold his business with his brother, made some very lucrative land deals, and according to his family, all this guy did was play video poker, go on cruises, and eat burritos at Taco Bell. According to witnesses, neighbors who knew him, friends, they go, the guy was worth several $1 million. He liked to live in an upscale residential community. He, in fact, was a high-stakes gambler. He was seen often at the Mandel Bay Resort and other places. Sometimes he would rent a suite out for several months. And he loved, in particular, video poker. He was very particular. So they want us to believe that a man, apparently, with no history of mental illness whatsoever, nobody who worked with him, knew him, his family, said, he seemed odd or he was crazy or nothing. So there's no history of mental illness. There apparently is no criminal record to speak of. Family members say there's no religious or political affiliation at all. And so all of a sudden, a man at 64, a multimillionaire, with his Asian girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley, who, by the way, as he's planning and executing this atrocity, this massacre, is conveniently out of the country. She's now in Tokyo. But the police tell us she has no involvement. Well, how do you know that? How do you know that? I mean, it just seems awfully convenient that when he guns down 59 people dead and over 500 injured, that she suddenly is just not there? She's just conveniently out of the country? In the Philippines or now in Tokyo? Now, furthermore, this is the same man who, according now to his family, owned 2 private planes, was apparently a licensed fisherman, who appears he bought many of his guns, we don't know about all of them, but many of his guns, apparently legally, that they found in his hotel room 23 rifles. And not only 23 rifles, they said thousands of rounds of ammunition, in which on the 2 shattered windows that he used to mow people down, there were tripods with scopes on the rifles. They even found automatic rifles. Then when they raided his home, the one in Reno, but he's got multiple homes, the one in Reno, Nevada, listen now to this, they found 18 more rifles, plus they also found thousands of rounds of ammunition, and they found explosives in his house. Now the Las Vegas police admitted last night that they also found explosives in his car. Ammonium nitrate, several pounds of it in his car. So let me get this straight now. You want to tell me that a guy who rents out a massive hotel suite 4 days before the massacre, who now, according to the hotel at the Mandalay Bay, was ordering suitcase after suitcase. It just kept arriving Thursday, Friday, Saturday, suitcases full of rifles, full of ammunition, that this is all completely premeditated on his part. He planned it meticulously. He's got explosives in his homes. He's got explosives in his car. He's got at least over 30, almost 40 rifles on him. Thousands of rounds of ammunition. He's got automatic weapons. And he just snapped. He just snapped. Just like this. He just, you know what the hell? I made a couple of bets. Apparently what they're saying now is that there were 3 or 4 bets that he made that totaled each about $25,000. And they think that maybe gambling debts drove him over the top or drove him off the edge. But even that, they can't prove definitively that he was in debt. They're just speculating. Well, it may have, I think it was a gambling thing and he was a high roller, but they have no evidence that this guy owed the banks whatever millions of dollars or was millions of dollars in the hole. In fact, he and his girlfriend apparently bought homes, they sold homes, they did financially extremely well. So again, you have a 64-year-old retired man, wealthy, with a girlfriend, who apparently was such a lousy shooter, according now to his family. When he won an event at one of these casinos to go skeet shooting, he brought his nephews with him. They say they made fun of their uncle because he was so bad at skeet shooting. He could barely shoot a skeet. But suddenly he's the guy who single-handedly, almost like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Rambo style, with the tripods and the scopes and they're saying AK-47s and Kalashnikovs, was there just mowing people down all by himself, this takes substantial amounts of planning to do, but they're claiming he just snapped? Hey, come on. This is ridiculous. Nobody believes it. And I've got to tell you, my friends, on this issue of Stephen Paddock and the Las Vegas massacre, the Mandalay massacre, as it's now being called, this is something I've almost never experienced as a talk show host. So I went downstairs in the lobby, and people there, security guards, others that work, right away said, Kuhner, heard your show today. I agree with you. There is something really fishy going on here. The story does not add up. I'm walking across the street to go to the parking garage. A guy from WGBH walks up to me. Kuhner, I don't care for your politics, Kuhner, but I got to tell you on this one, I've been listening to you, and it doesn't add up, Kuhner. It just doesn't add up. I mean, I'm a liberal and all. I hate Trump, don't get me wrong. But I got to tell you, I think somebody's lying to us here, Kuhner. I agree with you. So I have literally, it doesn't matter, Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, moderates, everybody saying, Jeff, I heard your show yesterday, and I'm telling you, somebody's lying. Somebody is lying. Either the FBI is lying, either the media is lying, either Stephen Paddock's family is lying, somebody's lying, because none of this adds up. Now, let me throw one more log on the fire, and then I want to throw it to you. 617-266-6868. do not dismiss the ISIS claim. I'm not saying he was an agent of ISIS. We don't have proof yet. However, it is unusual for ISIS to make a false claim. They've made false claims, but it's unusual. And so yesterday they doubled down on their claim that he in fact was a convert to Islam, a soldier of the caliphate, as they call him, and that this was revenge for all of the airstrikes that are now pounding and hammering ISIS enclaves in Syria and Iraq. And so they claim that Stephen Paddock was a convert of Islam through his Asian girlfriend. They've in fact even given out a nom de guerre, his sort of his military code name, Amir Amin al-Amiki. That was his code word or code name that he was known, they say, within the ISIS community. Now, as I said yesterday, take it with a big grain of salt, because what the mainstream media is not telling you is that Trump, in the first 8 to 9 months of his presidency, has done more regarding ISIS than Obama did in 3 years. Raqqa is now about to fall. ISIS has been smashed in Syria and in Iraq, and they're on the run. They have lost almost all of their territory in their stronghold in Syria and Iraq. So they are now desperate for a propaganda public relations victory. So this could be nothing more than smoke and mirrors of them trying to claim credit for something that they had no responsibility for. However, don't dismiss it, because you have to ask yourself, how did he get the machine guns? How did he get so much ammunition? How did he get the explosives? How was he able to convert some of these semi-automatics into automatics? How was he able to plan and prepare for all of this? That this was done by one man, never mind a 64-year-old man, a multi-millionaire, with no history of mental illness, no criminal background check, nothing whatsoever, all on his own, simply because one morning he got up and the gambling debts were too much, allegedly, and he just jumped off the deep end? No, I'm sorry. We're going to find either a radical Islamic terrorist connection, we're going to find a radical left-wing political violent connection, Antifa or something like that, or we're going to find that he maybe did have a serious record of mental illness and everybody was covering up. In other words, there is more to this story, much more than what the media is telling us. And so the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Bill Kelly Financial Services, is: do you believe the Las Vegas shooter just snapped? In other words, do you believe the official story out there from the media and from at least the spokespeople for law enforcement? This was just gambling debts, and he just lost it. And so got himself an arsenal and killed 59 people and injured over 400. If you believe the answer is yes, text the letter A to 680-680. If, like me, no, Jeff, something is rotten in Denmark, or in this case, Las Vegas, it stinks to high heaven, it doesn't add up. No. Text the letter B to 680-680. As always, you can vote online at WRKO.com. What was the motive for the Mandalay massacre? 617-266-6868. Your calls next. 1225 here on the great WRKO. They still have not uncovered a motive for the Mandalay massacre. Do you believe the mainstream media narrative that he just snapped, or do you think we're being sold a false bill of goods? Jay in Wareham. Go ahead, Jay.
Hey, Jeff. Love the show.
Thank you, Jay.
God bless, all the families and stuff that are going through this hard time right now. But I definitely think we're being fed a load of crap, honestly, because I've tried to watch as many videos that people have posted and what I've seen on TV, And I haven't seen a single video that shows any suppressing flashes from the 32nd floor from those windows. I've seen one that looks like it's either from the maybe the 4th to the maybe 10th or 12th floor tops. There was a video, CNN had actually aired it. Not that I watched CNN, but I definitely was checking everyone's angle out. And it definitely looked like there was some suppression fire coming from, like I said, around the 10th floor in one of the videos. So it's like, you know, what are we really being fed here? Like, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but I definitely think we're stepping in a load of crap.
Oh, Jay, look, I agree with you. And that was the point, and thank you for that call. Look, that was the point of my monologue, is that this has never happened before. Where I'm talking, this is WGBH, okay? These are like the PBS guys. And they're confronting me in the parking, not confronting me, but they're walking up to me saying, hey, hate you, hate your politics, but, we can't stop listening to you. And we heard you, and we're all like, no, Kuhner on this one is dead on. So you've got conservatives, you've got liberals, you've got Republicans, you've got Democrats, you've got everybody. I mean, they're like, no, what we're being told, it defies common sense. Think, you're 64, you're retired, you have no criminal background at all, no history of mental illness. Hell, you're cruising all the time. Everybody says, oh, he's always on a cruise, or he's gambling. He's a multimillionaire. And all of a sudden, like this, Shazam, they find 23 guns, automatic rifles in the hotel, thousands of rounds of ammo, explosives in his car, explosives in his home, 19 more guns, more ammunition. This guy was ready to fight a private war. How much weaponry and the arsenal that he had. And you're telling me he just got up one morning and said, what the hell, I'm going to do him. By the way, he was an avid country music fan. He apparently, according to his friends and family, he loved country music. He, in fact, used to go to that Route 91 Harvest Music Festival, the very one he shot up. I'm like, what? So everything what we're being told about him directly contradicts the profile of a mass murderer. Everything. Andy in Nebraska. Go ahead, Andy.
So let me get this straight. They're saying that a multimillionaire who had $25,000 worth of gambling debt would go on a rampage shooting 500 plus people. That's the first thing. Second, I do think that there is a radical left connection, because you're seeing Antifa left and right take responsibility for it, and it makes much more sense than ISIS, because this guy did not say Allah Akbar or anything. His friends and family say that he's had no religious ties. He's a registered Democrat. And I don't know if you've seen the undercover footage of Antifa where they really show what they're wanting to do, which is unleash absolute violent hell on us.
Well, Andy, a very good point. And Andy, there was undercover video footage of them bringing in AK-47s, machine guns, automatic weapons. So, in other words, because they're planning for this big day of violence on November 4th, they want to start what they say is the revolutionary violent overthrow of the American government. So they've been bringing in amassing all of these weapons. So, look, I don't know if the FBI can't confirm something and they're sitting on it. I don't know if they're being told by their politically correct superiors, we don't want an Islamic connection. We don't want an anti-Trump left-wing connection. Suppress, suppress, suppress. I don't know exactly what's going on here, but I'm telling you right now, the official story that we're being told is bull you-know-what. Okay? Let me say that it's bull crap. It's BS. No question about it. Okay, let's 12:30 here on the Great WRKO. We're going to continue to take more of your calls, I promise. 617-266-6868. For the latest updates, let's take it to Lori Grandy in the newsroom.
It's legal to own a couple of guns in the United States. He did not own machine guns that I knew of in any way, shape, or form. He didn't hunt. He barely shot his guns ever. He had a couple of handguns that he kept in a safe. He doesn't even have parking tickets. He has no criminal record. He has no record of any affiliations. He has nothing.
1237 here on the great WRKO. That, of course, is Stephen Paddock's brother, Eric Paddock. And my question to you is this. Do you believe the media's narrative? Did the Las Vegas shooter, Stephen Paddock, did he just, quote-unquote, snap? Do you believe he just, gambling debts, whatever, and he just lost it and got himself an arsenal and mowed those people down? If you believe the answer is yes, that's what happened, Jeff, text the letter A to 680-680. If you believe, no, Jeff, something stinks, this does not pass the smell test, no, text the letter B to 680-680. The poll question, as always, sponsored by Bill Kelly Financial Services. You can vote online as well at WRKO.com. Brittany, what are the results thus far?
96% no, 4% yes.
Sorry, 97 no, 3 yes?
96 no.
96
4
no,
yes.
4 yes. Now, I'm just curious, because you're not a conspiracy theorist. The last person who's a conspiracy theorist is you. Are you an A or a B on this one?
I feel like I'm beginning to sound like one, though, because this doesn't make sense to me at all, Jeff. You know, there's people saying maybe he was set up, maybe someone killed him and they used his room and they did this, or maybe he is ISIS, maybe he did snap. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense that one person would be able to do this in 10 minutes. Just doesn't.
Your dad, who is a veteran police officer, when you spoke to him last night about this, what did he say?
He says that it doesn't add up. All of this does not add up. So, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Interesting. Let's go to Bob in Bellrica. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
I'll be as quick as possible and I'll hang up so more callers can come in. We're supposed to believe the guy looked like he was a heavy guy more than shooting multiple guns over and over. And would it surprise you or anybody else that the girlfriend might go missing?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, Bob. Look, she's in it. This is the other thing. Talk about convenient. She's out of the country right when he commits this massacre. She's just not there. And then apparently she was in the Philippines. Now she's in Japan. She's in Tokyo. Now here's the other thing. Police say they've reached out to her, and why not fly down to Tokyo? Or why not say, hey, get your rear end back to Las Vegas. We want to sit you down and interrogate you. Instead, it's just bizarre. They right away rule her out. Right away. Within a couple hours of the investigation. Oh, no, she had nothing to do with this. Well, how do you know? I mean, okay, I get it. She's out of the country, but you don't know. What if I'm just speculating now, but, what if she radicalized him? What if she helped him plan it? What if she was somehow involved? You can't just rule somebody out willy-nilly within 24 hours of an investigation when she's A, a girlfriend, and B, she's going to know a lot about what led to this the weeks and months beforehand. And the other thing, and then I want to throw it right back to you, the audience. I'm like, hold on. I mean, this just doesn't make sense. They're uncovering, they found 23 weapons, they say, in the room. Another 19 they found in the home in Reno. 4,000 rounds of ammunition. 4,000 rounds. Explosive, pounds of it in his house and then in his car. How do you buy that many guns? By the way, some of those are technically illegal. They're automatic weapons. Machine guns? How do you get them? Who helped get them? How does this guy amass this under everybody's nose? And allegedly, nobody knows a thing? And he clearly scoped that venue. If it was him, he scoped it. This thing was planned. He waited for 4 days. He made sure the ammunition went into his room. Hell, the guy even set up a camera. So when the SWAT team rushed in, he would know when they're coming, so apparently, allegedly, he could off himself. Now, look, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I'm a smart guy. I'm 48. I'm not 64. I'm 48. If you were to tell me, you hold my family hostage, and you say, you're going to have to commit a massacre, Jeff, if you want to see your wonderful wife and 2 kids, I couldn't even think of this. I'm being honest with you. I'm like, all right, I got to go to 32nd floor. I got to get this kind of arsenal. I gotta convert these semi-automatics to these automatics. I'm going to blow out 2 windows to do maximum damage. I'm going to get the tripods. I'm going to get the scopes. I'm going to get ammonium nitrate. You're asking me to believe this of a 64-year-old retired multimillionaire who owns several private planes, and everybody said all he loved to do was gamble and cruise? Like, if he was ex-military or special forces, I'd say, okay, I see the background. Out of the blue, this guy becomes Rambo? Come on. Forgive me. Blank off. I don't believe it. Glenn in Carver. Go ahead, Glenn.
Jeff, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. None of this adds up, Jeff. You're so right on everything. You ever see that movie, Dirty Harry?
Yes.
The first one?
The first one,
Okay.
yes.
You remember the perpetrator?
It was a couple years ago, Glenn. Could you refresh my memory?
He was picking everybody off with a gun.
Oh, yes.
Okay. He got himself beat up to blame it on Callahan. And Callahan said, you know what? I didn't do it. You know why? He looks too damn good. That's why. That's exactly what's happening here. This looks too good to believe it. Jeff, you know what else?
Go ahead, Glenn.
The distance. I don't even believe the shots were fired from 200, 300 feet up, 1,200 feet away. Count that angle. That's another 200 feet up. It's like 1,600 feet away. I think there were shots fired from different places. I don't believe it.
Glenn, look, that's another thing, and thank you for that call.
Well, they were reporting that there were other shooters in other casinos and everything, too, like over at Hooters, I think it's the Floridian or whatever it was called. Like, they were reporting all of these shooters everywhere, so people were leaving that venue, and they're running over to Hooters, and they're like, no, there's a shooter here, and then they're running back to another place. It was just complete and utter mayhem that night. But I mean, how do you explain the 2 blown-out windows? What, do the cops do that? They put a hole in the 2 windows?
No, they say that he did it. I'll just say what the explanation is. They say that he took a hammer-like device and smashed the 2 windows.
But to Glenn's point, that there were shootings from different angles.
No, I know.
And I questioned the distance yesterday too, but I mean, I don't know.
No, look, you're right. Look, Brittany, it doesn't. You're being skeptical, and you're right to be skeptical, because here's the other thing. According to all of the witnesses, one by one, this is what they all said: we were dropping like flies. In other words, this guy was just picking us off. Boom, boom, boom. Bodies are just dropping everywhere. They weren't saying, bullets are bouncing off the wall, bullets are bouncing off the pavement. Like, this guy was just he was shooting indiscriminately, but wildly. It was almost like this guy knew how to shoot. I understand it's a machine gun, it's a big crowd, it's a big venue, I get it. But it's not like just bullets just flying everywhere, right? This guy the kill ratio, the hit ratio this guy was hitting them. He was hitting them, one after another. Boom, 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 boom. So here you have a guy who his own nephew say, look, he owned guns, but he hardly shot guns. And then when we went skeet shooting, the one time, the guy couldn't hit a lousy skeet. Now, what's skeet shooting? I mean, what is it, 50 yards, 100 yards, whatever it is? They shoot it up in the air. So you got a guy a quarter mile away from the 32nd floor. And this guy becomes like this, I don't know, the American sniper? What's the name of that great guy that died? They did a movie about him.
Chris Kyle.
Suddenly now he becomes Chris Kyle. Suddenly, boom, 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 boom. Like, I don't know, he's a Green Beret or an Army Ranger or a Navy SEAL Team 6, 5 years in Iraq. No. I'm sorry. No. Doesn't fly with me. Bobby in Saugus. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, Jeff, I agree with almost everything you and Brittany are saying here. He checks in a hotel on the 28th, and you don't usually check in till after noontime. And we're expected to believe in less than 2.5 days, he brought in 23 rifles, thousands of rounds of ammunition, tripods, all in 2.5 days. He has no training. There's 2 windows that are knocked out. And this whole thing took 10 minutes. Did he fire, then go in the other room and knock a window out and fire again? I doubt it. This smells of some type of conspiracy, more than one shooters, and I think he was he was killed and he didn't commit suicide. And there's a big lid on this one, Jeff, because there's an explosion underneath the lid.
You know, Bobby, a lot of people, you're not the only one. I'm talking, I got deluged with emails yesterday on email, but people texting me, people just everywhere saying, Jeff, I don't believe he committed suicide. I keep hearing that. Look, I don't know. I don't have any evidence. I have to go with what the police say. But I'm just telling you that you're not the only one. I can't tell you how many times people have said, Jeff, isn't it awfully convenient that this guy just offed himself? Isn't it just awfully freaking convenient? Because dead people don't tell tales. Just, look, remember, there were initial reports of multiple shooters. What happened to that? What happened to the Hispanic woman with her boyfriend? You remember that? We played that yesterday, where you had concert goers. Many witnesses said she ran up to us yelling, screaming. They don't know if she was warning them or taunting them because she was so hysterical, but she kept saying, you're all going to blank and die. You're all going to blank and die. And then 45 minutes later, there's a massacre that takes place. Nothing. No one's found that Hispanic woman. No one's found the boyfriend. The police won't comment on it. Like, was this just a random coincidence or was she part of something? Nothing. No, he just snapped. No, gambling debts, be quiet. Gambling debts, he snapped. Gun control, let's move on. Ronnie, you're up next. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for taking the call.
My pleasure.
I'm just sickened and numb like everyone else. And like everyone else, I just want the truth of his motive. His motive is the only thing that truly matters, in why this is going on. And what I believe is simply this, Jeff, that if this is another case of Trump derangement syndrome, like the shooter that targeted Republicans, this media is not going to tell us that. If he was another ranting, raving, he's been furious every night since Trump won, like so many people we've seen, his family's not going to tell you that. And we're seeing this Trump derangement top to bottom. I mean, these NFL players on Monday Night Football wouldn't even let America grieve in unity and still protested. And I'm not saying that that's what motivated him. I'm saying that if that is what motivated him, this media will never be honest with us about it. And that's what's so infuriating and frustrating. And because we just want the truth, we just want the truth. And I just don't believe that this media is going to give it to us. I mean, when you bring that much firepower, I think these people were targeted for who they were. And I think that individual, really felt he was doing the country a service by ridding us all of white supremacists. And I'd love to be wrong, but like I said, I just want the truth. And I know that this media is only going to tell us a truth that they're comfortable with, not the truth.
Ronnie, I know you. You're a very articulate guy. You're very well read. You're a union guy. You're like Brittany. You're the last person that is ever a conspiracy theorist. It's the facts, and nothing but the facts.
That's why I won't entertain them, Jeff. I mean, it's just because those to me are, those things aren't as important as the motive. But I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, but I want to ask you point blank. What you're hearing from the media, what you're hearing from the law enforcement spokespeople, that this was a guy who just snapped allegedly now because of high gambling debts. Does that ring true to you?
Well, let me turn it back on you like this, Jeff. If that is really what the mainstream media is peddling, that it was just, he was just looking to kill anybody, do you really think they would have pushed that narrative if that event had happened to be a heavily minority crowd? I don't think so.
Bingo.
I don't think so, because if you're going to say he's crazy, you're saying that he didn't care who he was shooting as long as he was shooting someone. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Ronnie, thank you for that call. 617-266-6868. A lot more with your calls next.
He had a lot more money than you people had. He was a wealthy guy, and he liked to play video poker. He went on cruises. He sent his mother cookies.
12:55 here on the great WRKO. Again, that was the brother of the Las Vegas shooter, Stephen Paddock. The brother Eric saying, look, the guy was a multimillionaire, owned private planes, owned multiple homes. Why would he do this? The family is utterly dumbfounded. Brittany, I know you want to weigh in on
Yes,
this.
so Jeff, this is why I'm having a hard time believing that, this guy just snapped. Truthfully, Kuhner. Do you believe that the Tsarnaev brothers acted alone?
No.
What about the San Bernardino couple there that shot up the... Nope. Okay, how about the Orlando shooter that shot up the Pulse nightclub? No. Don't you believe that there have been a lot of cover-ups with our agencies that, these people just slip through the cracks of the FBI and whatnot? So this is why I'm having a really, really hard time believing what they're telling us, that this guy just snapped because he had all of this debt.
Well, what the FBI has never been able to explain is how, for example, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, where did he get the money to go back to Chechnya, go into those Al-Qaeda training camps, flying all over the place? They've downplayed the Saudi angle. I think there was a terrorist cell that helped the Tsarnaevs. San Bernardino, same thing. I think the Saudis were funding a cell, and they helped those two people shoot up that workplace in San Bernardino. The same thing with the nightclub, the Pulse shooter. I don't think he acted alone. I don't. So I think there's a lot that they have been misleading us, and I think now they're being caught again because on this one, their story, at least their cover story, it's almost like a children's book. It's not believable. It's not believable. Let's go to George. You're up next. Go ahead, George.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, George?
I'm good, thanks. Hey, listen, no, I don't believe it, and I'll tell you why. I key on the witnesses, the people that are talking. They don't look disheveled. There was one guy that said his buddy that was standing next to him, they were in the front row, got shot 3 times in the chest. But yet this guy didn't have any blood splatter. Excuse me, there was no blood on his shirt or on his hands. And he said that he had dragged him over a fence with 2 other guys and then hit him under the bleachers. But yet there was nothing wrong with the guy. And before the interview, he was laughing. And there was the video from these people in the audience that said, you saw all these people running. You didn't hear any shots. The singer never said anything. He just walked off the stage. People ran. And then people were saying, I don't see anybody being injured. And, just everything. Like,
hold on, George, what you mean? So you think some of these witnesses are lying?
Oh, yeah, that they interview on CNN and all that. I think it's staged. I think these are all actors. I really do. I mean, if you watch it, these don't look like people that just witnessed.
No, George, I'm sorry, but I really disagree with you on that. No, I mean, these people, it's the opposite. They look really, they look real to me. They look shocked. They look stunned. They're in agony. They're heartbroken. Now, some of them have been interviewed the day after. Like there was a singer that was on Tucker Carlson. He was, just riveting. Yeah, he had a clean shirt and clean everything, but that's because it was the day after the attack. But no, that the witnesses are staged? No way. No. What I don't buy is the shooter and the motives for the shooter. That I don't buy. 617-266-6868. We'll take many of your calls. Much more next.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 1 o'clock.